Hello, my dear students, and a warm welcome to all of you to English class. Today, in English, we are going to learn a new lesson that is a mad tea party. All of you must be aware of the story of Alice in Wonderland, and of course, some of you must have even watched the movie of Alice in Wonderland, right? Here is also a small episode of Alice in Wonderland. So that is a mad tea party. So it's a small episode or a small story from this whole novel. Okay. Now, Alice in Wonderland is a fantasy novel written by Lewis Carroll. Okay, so fantasy means something which is very imaginative and like magical things are there in a fantasy. Or so here it is also a fantasy which is imaginative fiction involving magic as well as lot of adventure. So let's see how what adventures and what magical things are there in this lesson. Okay, now it is written by Lewis Carroll, tells us of the adventures of a little girl called Alice. Okay, so you might have seen this movie, then you will realize what I'm talking about, because here in this lesson she has done lot of wonders, or in this movie she has done lot of wonders. Who falls into a rabbit hole and finds herself in a fantasy world where funny people mingle with peculiar creatures. So you might have seen at the beginning of the story that when Alice is having a party, and she sees one rabbit holding a clock in the hand and just running towards a hole. So when she goes after that rabbit, she also falls into the rabbit hole, and when she falls into the rabbit hole, she finds herself in a fantasy world. Fantasy means it's an imaginative world which is all full of magic and adventure. And there she finds very funny people. Okay, you can see the pictures of some of the funny people shown over here, right? So funny people, and also some with peculiar creatures also. Peculiar creatures means some of the animals also. Here, she happens to attend a tea party with three of them. So, when she falls in the one of the episode, or one of the part of the story, that she happens to attend a tea party with three of them. Three of them means three of the creatures. Okay, and the names of the three creatures were the March Hare, the Mad Hatter, and the Dormouse. Now, what is a March Hare? A March Hare is brown hair. It's a color of the hair is brown in color, and this brown hair, what it does, it's a breeding season is there. That means they when they mate and they produce the young ones, that is called as their breeding season. So, brown hare in the breeding season, noted for its lipping and boxing movements. That means it lips or boxes, or you can also call that hare as during its breeding season in March month. Especially they, hare, or also called as rabbit, their breeding season in March. This March hare's breeding season is in March, and it is noted for its wild and excitable behavior. So when it is its breeding season, they have very wild and very exciting behavior, excitable behavior. So is the March hare. So I hope so you have understood what is the meaning of the word March hare. The Mad Hatter. So here another person is there who is always wearing a hat, and that hair is very tall. Okay, and he is also here he's always holding a tea party. So here, and he is little bit mad type of a person. That is why here the character name is given as Mad Hatter. And the Dormouse. Okay, so Dormouse is a small mouse, so now which looks like a squirrel, and with hairy and bushy tail. Okay, and it is mostly found in Africa and Eurasia. So you remember, a small mouse which looks like a squirrel with hairy and bushy tail, okay, which is found in Africa and Eurasia. So these three creatures were holding a tea party, and she happens to attend. So Alice happens to attend this tea party. Now there was a table set out under a tree in front of the house. So where this tea party was going on, it was the table which was set for the tea party was under a tree, and that tree was in front of the house. And the mouse and the March Hare and the Hatter were having tea at it. So there was a table set out in front, under a tree and in front of the house, and March Hare and the Hatter were having tea at it, and the Dormouse was sitting in between them. So if I have to explain to you how it is, like, I can show you that. Suppose here this is a table here, and Dormouse, March Hare is sitting here, okay, and Mad Hatter is sitting here, and Dormouse was sitting in between. Okay, so I hope so you have understood what I mean to say. And was sitting between them, and this Dormouse was fast asleep. And the other two, that means the March Hare and the Mad Hatter, were using it as a cushion. Okay, so they were using Dormouse as a cushion by just resting their elbows on it. So you can understand what I mean to say. And taking over its head. So, very uncomfortable for the Dormouse, thought Alice. Only as it, okay. So, what Alice, when she saw that Mad Hatter and the March Hare, both of them are keeping their elbows on the Dormouse, she felt that Dormouse must be feeling very uncomfortable. So, thought Alice. Only as it's asleep, I suppose it doesn't mind. Just because he's sleeping, okay, he must be not minding it, right? Fine. So she thought like that. The table was a large one, but the three were all crowded at one corner of it. Okay, so here it is, it just said mingle. I forgot to tell you the meaning of the word mingle. Mingle means to mix. Okay, mingle means to mix, and peculiar means strange creatures. All these creatures were strange. So here, all three of them were sitting very close to each other, very crowded they were at one corner of it. No room, they cried out when they saw Alice coming. Okay, so they saw that Alice was coming towards their table where they were holding their tea party, and they started saying loudly that there was no room or there was no place, because they did not wanted Alice to join them. So they just started shouting, saying that there was no room. But if you could see, the table was something like this. Okay, table was very big enough. Okay, so it was very big enough, and all three of them were sitting at one corner of the table. Okay, and there was lot of space on the table, but still they were saying that there was no room. That means they just wanted Alice to go away from that place. So they cried out when they saw Alice coming, and there's plenty of room, said Alice. So indignantly means she, when she saw that all three of them are sitting in one corner, and table is so big. Okay, so she was in anger. So she said indignantly that there is plenty of room. Now, meaning of indignantly means showing anger that has been caused by something wrong or unjust or mean. Okay, so they were all unjust, or they were not allowing Alice to sit there. Why? Instead of having a lot of place. So that is why she said in anger that there was plenty of room. Okay, indignantly means showing anger that has been caused by something wrong. So she was thinking that they are all treating her wrongly, okay, or unjustly. Fine, or in a mean manner. Okay, so she said, there's a plenty of room, said Alice indignantly, and she sat down in a large armchair at one end of the table. So she came and she purposely sat there on an armchair. I'll show you how was the armchair where she was sitting, and all three of them were sitting. You can see the picture. In this picture, you can see this is called as the armchair, wherein you can keep your arms comfortably. So that is called as an armchair. So you can see over here, this part is there, right? So that is also called as an armchair, and you can see how all three of them are sitting at one corner, and the table is very big here. Okay, all three of them are sitting very close to each other, and you can see the Dormouse is just fast asleep. Okay, then let's continue. So, have some wine. Okay, Alice, have some wine, the March Hare said in the encouraging tone. Okay, so March Hare told Alice that you can have, some wine. Alice looked all round the table, but there was nothing on it but tea. I don't see any wine, she remarked, because that was a tea party, and that tea party was mad tea party. Okay, so something which is unusual was happening here. So that's why the name is given as mad tea party. So March Hare told her in encouraging tone that you can have some wine. But then, was there any wine? No, there was no wine, and she could not see any wine on the table. She saw only tea on the table. I don't see any wine, she remarked. There isn't any, said the March Hare. So he just wanted to make fun of her. So he's saying that there isn't any, said the March Hare. Then it wasn't very civil of you. Very civil means polite or well mannered. So she's saying that it is not correct, or it is not polite of you to offer it when it is not there, said Alice angrily. She became angry because the Marcher was just making fun of her by just telling her that you can have wine, but there was no wine at all. And then he also say, yes, there isn't any. So he was just making fun of Alice. It wasn't very civil of you to sit down without being invited, said the March Hare. So he in return gave back to her that even it wasn't very civil of you. Okay, so that means even if it was not polite of you, or not well manner, no manner, that you sat down without being invited. Without being invited means without our permission, you sat down on the armchair. So that is why he spoke with her like that, in a funny manner. I didn't know it was your table, said Alice. It's laid for a great many more than three. Okay, so she says that, okay, it is I didn't know it was your table. So she said that I was not knowing that it's your table, and it is laid for a great many more than three. So she is saying that many people can sit there on, because it's a large table, huge table, and great many means even larger. Other people who are greater than you can also sit on this table. Okay, sit beside this table. Not only you three. Okay. So your hair wants cutting, said the hatter. He had been looking at Alice for some time with great curiosity, and this was his first speech. So now Mad Hatter was mad. So he just said something, and that was having no, it was very meaningless what he spoke about. You can see your hair wants cutting, said the hatter. That means he just wants to ask Alice that, shall I cut your hair? Okay. So he had been looking at Alice for some time with great curiosity, and this was his first speech. You should learn not to make personal remarks, Alice said with some severity. It's very rude. So she's saying that you cannot make such personal remarks. How can you say that you will cut my hair? Okay, so she said with severity. Severity means with sternness, or with steadiness. She said like that, and she said that it's very rude that to have a personal remark like that, that you will cut my hair. Okay, so the hatter opened his eyes very wide on hearing this, but all he said was, "Why is a raven like a writing desk?" Okay, so she's so what hatter what he did, he just opened his eyes very wide, and on hearing this he said that, why is a raven like a writing desk? So a raven means a large bird like a crow, or you can say even a black crow, which is very black, okay, and large enough in size. So he says that with his eyes very wide open, he says that, why is a raven like a writing desk? So why is that black crow is looking like a writing desk? Writing desk, you can understand what is a writing desk. So why it is behaving like a writing desk? So isn't it stupid question, students? So here there is no meaning at all for this question, and since he is a Mad Hatter, he is asking all sorts of foolish questions here. So come, we shall have some fun now, thought Alice. I'm glad they have begun asking riddles. I believe I can guess that, she added aloud. So she thought that both of them are speaking in, a manner as if they are asking her some riddles and she has to answer those questions. So she's saying, she also agreed that let's have some fun now, and I'm glad they have begun asking riddles. So uh, I'm glad they have begun asking riddles. So she's saying that I'm glad. Glad means happy. Okay. So I'm glad that they have begun asking riddles. So even she says that I believe I can guess that, she added aloud. So she said that I can guess whatever is the answer of all those riddles they are asking. Do you mean that you think you can find out the answer to it? Said the March Hare. So he's saying that, do you think that you will be able to answer whatever questions we are asking? Okay, exactly so, said Alice. So she is also saying with all, confidence that, yes, I can answer all your questions. Then you should say what you mean, the March Hare went on. So she is saying that, so you should say whatever you mean. That means when you say you can answer, that means you will have to answer whatever questions we ask you. She says, I do, yes, I will. Alice hastily replied. Okay, hastily replied means she quickly replied. Okay, hastily means quickly. She replied very quickly. At least I mean what I say. That's the same thing, you know. So she's saying that whatever I mean, at least whatever I say, I mean it. Okay, so that's the same thing you also know, and you know it, that what I mean to say. Not the same thing a bit, said the hatter. So he's saying that it is not the same thing what you're saying. So that means whatever you are saying, you might just as well say that I see what I eat is the same thing as I eat what I see. Okay, I eat what I see. So he's saying that just making all the foolish statements here. So he's saying that it is not the same thing what you're saying. So that means whatever you are saying is, like, for example, I see what I eat. That means I see what I eat is the same thing as I eat what I see. Okay, so you mean to say that whatever I see, what I eat is the same thing as I eat what I see. Okay, so very funny, no, students? Yeah, you might just as well say, added the March Hare. So March Hare also started in between also. He also says that means whatever you said is just like this. I like what I get is the same thing I get what I like. Yes, so he's saying that I like what I get. Okay, I like what I get, that means I get what I like. So I hope so you have understood what they just want to make her irritated by making all these statements which doesn't have any meaning. I like what I get and I get what I like. You might just as well say, added the Dormouse, who seemed to be talking in his sleep now. You know that Dormouse was sitting in between the March Hare and the Mad Hatter, and he was fast asleep. So, in his sleep also, he started talking. Okay, that I breathe when I sleep is the same thing I sleep when I breathe. Okay, so you can understand what they want to say, all three of them. They just want to irritate Alice by just saying these statements. Just since she said that it's the same thing, she said, na, it's the same, that's the same thing, you know. So I mean what I say, that's the same thing, you know. So that's why they are all changing the statement in the opposite manner. Okay, and just making her irritated. Okay, so it is the same thing with you, said the hatter, and here the conversation dropped. Okay, so whatever they said, all these sentences, and so they are just trying to explain to her that all these statements, whatever they said, is the same thing with you. Okay, said the hatter, and here the conversation dropped. Okay, so that means here the conversation stopped, whatever they were discussing, and the party sat silent for a minute while Alice thought over all she could remember about ravens and writing desk, which wasn't much. Okay, so here the conversation stopped. Whatever they were talking, that stopped, and all of them sat silent. But Alice was thinking about what the question was. That is, what Ravens about the writing desk. That question, which was said by the Mad Hatter. She was thinking about that same statement. Have you guessed the riddle? Yet the Hatter. Said, turning to Alice again. So he's asking now Alice that, have you guessed the answer of the question which I asked you? No, I give it up. She says that I'm not finding the answer to it, so I give it up. I say I'm not able to answer to it. So Alice replied, what's the answer? So she is asking curiously now that what is the answer of this question? So he is saying that I haven't the slightest idea, said the hatter. So yet hatter also doesn't know what was the, whatever he said and what was the answer. It was just a foolish statement made by him. So he also saying that I even don't have slightest of idea. Slightest means I don't have even less idea or very slight idea of what I have asked you. Nor I, said the March Hare. So March Hare also is saying that even I don't know. Alice sighed wearily. Okay, Alice sighed wearily means sighing means when we just take a long breath out whenever we are feeling tired or when we are relaxed. At that time we say like that, we sigh, right? Even here Alice also sighed wearily. Wearily means what? Tiredly. She also sighed like that. I think you might do something better with the time. So she is saying that you can do much more good things or better things with the time you have. Okay, so do not waste your time in asking this funny riddles or nonsense riddles. So she said, then waste it in asking riddles that have no answer. So she is saying that you can use your time effectively or better than instead of wasting your time in asking this funny riddles or those riddles which have no answers. If you knew time as well as I do, said the hatter. So he's saying, hatter is saying, that means if you knew means here actually there is a man who is behaving like a time. So he's saying that if you knew, that means if you are knowing time means a person he's talking about here. Okay, if you knew time as well as I do, that means he's saying that I know time. Do you know? Or if you know time, then said the hatter, you wouldn't talk about wasting it. So he's saying that if you know about the time, then you will never say that you are wasting it. It's him means the the person who is acting like the time. Okay, it's him, it's the time. I don't know what you mean, said Alice. So she doesn't know what Mad Hatter is talking about, because all this while he was just talking about madness. Okay, so she's saying that I don't know what you're talking about. That there is a time and time and all. Of course you don't, the Hatter said. So he's saying that you don't know him. Tossing, he said contemptuously. Okay, contemptuously. Contemptuously mean scornfully or without any respect. So he is just saying, of course you don't, said the Hatter, tossing his head. Tossing his head means, making going round and round like this, tossing his head. Fine. So contemptuously means without any respect. I dare say you never even spoke to time. So he's saying that you must, I dare means I'm sure that you must have never spoken to time before. Okay. Perhaps not, Alice cautiously replied. So she said that yes, of course, she is saying with a lot of cautious or with a lot of carefulness. Okay, so she's saying carefully, perhaps not. That means I've not spoken any time to time. But I know I have to beat time when I learn music. So she's saying that yes, I too do. Beat time. Beat time means I also don't remember about the time when I learn music. That means, when you are busy with something you like for example, you have many of you must be having different hobbies. And when you practice your hobby, you forget everything. So she even says here that when she is learning music, that she even forgets time, or she beats time here. Ah, that accounts for it, said the hatter. He won't stand beating. Okay, so that accounts for it, said the hatter. Means yes, yeah, that's true. Okay, he won't stand beating. He won't stand beating means he will never stand beating. Beating means, beating. How we are getting beating, from your mother or maybe your father, you are getting beating. So he's saying that time will never stand for a beating like that. Now, if you only kept on good terms with him, he did do almost anything you liked with the clock. So, if he says that if you are good to him, in good terms means, on good terms means if you are good to the time, then he will do almost anything. Okay, the time will do anything, almost anything you liked with the clock. So he will do whatever. If you just move on the clock or move the time of the clock, he will allow you to do anything. Okay, he's saying like that. Okay, so here it's because these all these creatures actually were given some punishment, and they were only having the tea time, so they can enjoy only the tea time and not any other time, so they were just punished. So he's saying that if you know better about the time, then he will, and you are in good terms with the time, he will always allow you to do anything you want. He's saying like that. Okay, so if you're in good terms with him means with the time, he did do almost anything you liked with the clock. For instance means for example, suppose it were 9 o'clock in the morning, just time to begin lessons. You did only have to whisper a hint to time, and round goes the clock in a twinkling. 1:30, time for dinner. Okay, so he is saying that for instance, suppose it was 9 o'clock in the morning, 9 o'clock, when mostly we have we are having lessons. That means we just go to school at that time, and then we are having our lessons. Okay, our teacher teaches us the lesson, so you did only have to whisper. So he's saying that you just have to whisper means in a small low tone. Okay, you have to just tell to the time, to a hint to time. Okay, you have to give a hint to him, and round goes the clock in a twinkling. 1:30, time for the dinner. So he's saying that round goes the clock. So if you just give a hint to the time, then what the time will do, it will just go round and round, and it will stop in a twinkling manner. 1:30 means 1:30 for dinner. So he's saying that it will stop at dinner means here, over here for them 1:30 is the time for taking dinner. So he is saying that if you are in good terms, then even if it is 9 o'clock in the morning, he can just move around, and it will be exactly 1:30 wherein you can have your food. Okay, for them it is a dinner. But actually for us, 1:30 is actually the lunch time, right? So here this Mad Hatter is just thinking of the of having food and tea party. Okay. So I only wish it was, the March Hare said to himself in a whisper. So he says that March Hare, in a low tone to himself, he's saying, yes, even I also wish to have food at that time. I only wish it was that it might be at 1:30, and then we can have, food at that time, dinner at that time. Okay. But since they were punished, they were having only one time. No, the time was stuck only for the tea party. Okay, and not anything else. So he's saying that I wish I could have that time. Okay, that would be grand, certainly. Okay, so she's saying that yes, of course it would be very grand means grand means you can say it's a large, it would be very large, or it may be very interesting, or maybe imposing. Okay, certainly means definitely. So that would be grand, certainly, said Alice thoughtfully. So she now when she's talking with a lot of thinking. But then I shouldn't be hungry for it. So she's saying that, it's just 9 o'clock, and if I just move the clock around the clock like that, and it is 1:30, I won't be definitely hungry at that time. Even if I feel grand, I won't be hungry. Yes. So she's saying very thoughtfully. Not at first, perhaps. So he's saying, said the hatter. So what hatter is saying? Not at first, perhaps. That means you may not feel hungry at the first time. Okay, but you could keep it for 1:30 as long as you liked. So you can keep the time as long as you want, and that means when you feel hungry, you can, till that time you can keep the clock till 1:30. Okay, you may not change the time, and it will wait. Okay, it will remain there only if you are in good terms with the time. So he's saying like that. A bright idea came into Alice's head. Is that the reason so many tea things are put out here? She asked. So she's saying that just because you all are, you can move the time like that. That is why so many things are kept out or put out here on the table. She's saying. Okay. So yes, that's it, said the hatter with a sigh. Like that he's saying, yes, now you understood why is it so. It's always tea time, and we have no time to watch the things between whiles. So he's saying that yes, it's the same thing what you are thinking. That's correct. Okay, and it is always tea time, and we have no time to wash the things between whiles. So he's saying that there's no time for us to wash the things even in between. While means in between. Okay, between whiles means it's a phrase between two occasions or two short periods. Okay, so between whiles means it's a phrase which means that between two occasions or two short periods, he's saying. So it is always the tea time they are having, and they do not have any time to even wash the things. Then you keep moving round, I suppose, said Alice. So she's saying that you must be keeping moving around, right? Exactly so, said the hatter, as the things get used up. Okay, so as the things get used up means when they are having the tea, they are just keeping the things like that only. But what happens when you come to the beginning again? So she is saying that suppose now all the things are getting over, then again you will have to start your tea party. Then what you are doing? Okay, Alice ventured to ask. Ventured to ask means she, with courage she asked. Okay, with a lot of courage she asked, to the Mad Hatter, because all these people were just making a fool and just, talking stupid things. So she, asked with lot of cautious. Okay. So, but what happens when you come to the beginning again? So she says that when you start your tea party again, then what happens at that time? How you will have your, cup and saucer at that time, like that. Okay, suppose we change the subject. The March Hare interrupted. So March Hare was now bored, okay, and he started yawning. Okay, so he's saying now let's change the subject. Okay, whatever is the topic of discussion, let's just change the subject. I am getting tired of this. I vote the young lady tells us a story. So he says that, let's change the subject now, and I am getting bored of this. I'm getting tired of this. I vote the young lady. I vote means I say that young lady should tell us a story now. Okay, so I'm afraid I don't know one, said Alice, so rather alarmed at the proposal. Okay, so what she's saying that I'm afraid that I don't know anyone. So she was not knowing any story. So she's saying that I'm afraid I don't know anyone and know any story, said Alice, rather alarmed at the proposal. Okay, proposal means she whatever suggestion the March Hare gave, he's saying that alarm. Proposal over here is suggestion. Okay, the suggestion which was given by March Hare about telling a story. Okay, that Alice should tell about a story. She's saying that I'm afraid I don't know anyone. Then the Dormouse shall. Then the dormouse shall. They both cried, "Wake up, dormouse," and they pinched it on both sides at once. So both of them now started asking, "Now, dormouse, you should get up now and you should tell us now one story." Then the dormouse shall. They both cried, "Wake up, dormouse," and they pinched it on both sides at once. Okay? The dormouse slowly opened his eye. "I wasn't asleep," he saying that. "Now I wasn't asleep. I was just," he said in a hoarse, feeble voice. Hoarse means rough and unpleasant. Okay, rough and unpleasant voice, and feeble means very weak since he was sleeping at that time. Okay, so he's saying that I wasn't asleep, in a hoarse and feeble voice. I heard every word you fellows were saying. So he's saying that I wasn't asleep, and whatever you were discussing or whatever you were saying, I heard everything. You fellows means all those people who are, all three of them, whatever they were speaking, he just heard all three of them speaking. So this is the story about, isn't it funny story? And there's no there's nothing to talk about in this. All the mad tea party it was, right? It was all mad tea party, and you must have enjoyed this mad tea party, right, students? Yes, I hope so you have understood the story. And there are meanings given at the end of the lesson. You can go through all the meanings, and even you can try to find out the meanings of the words which you have not understood, right, students? And for your homework, you can even find out the answers to the questions which are given here in the textbook. Okay, students. So thank you, and I'll see you in the next lesson. Thank you very much.